All right, guys. We have a 2007 BMW 5 Series. This is a common issue with these on this type of engine. Let me show you the setup real quick here. This customer came in. He had a belt that was slung. That belt ended up ripping through this upper radiator hose, like plastic assembly and stuff, destroyed it, and couldn't keep cooling in it, obviously, because the hose was busted off. What we did was we came out, pulled the hoses off of it that were bad, replaced everything, filled it up with coolant. Was gonna go put an engine belt on. Realized, wait a second, look at all the oil. My guy comes and says, hey man, this whole front of this engine is covered in oil. You see how clean it is now? The front of that engine, the whole front of this engine was covered, just absolutely covered, all the way from top to bottom in oil. So you couldn't see where anything was coming from. It was so black and caked up on the front of it. So what we did is the customer approved us to go ahead and clean the front of the engine off, wash everything down, and then this whole alternator, you couldn't even really see the aluminum color in the alternator, was just covered in a sheet of oil, and it was like an 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch thick all the way around it. And it was, you can see some of the oil material, some of the paint and the oil coming off of it. Anyway, so we power washed everything off, trying to figure out where the oil leak is, and sure enough, out of nowhere, within about 30 seconds, we started seeing oil dripping from right here on the side of this cooler housing. And look, there it is. It's puddling up right there. Starts coming out of this crack in between this housing, and then underneath the cooler assembly where it mounts, the oil filter housing, it's leaking out the front of that as well. I'm going to start it up real quick and show you what that looks like. So I'm going to clean this real quick. I wanted to grab a little bit more information for you guys. I guess it's all the N series engines, like the 52, the 55, any of the ones that have this cooler assembly up front here like this, they all do this. There's like a metal gasket and stuff in there. There's like a little kit and stuff that you can get. But it takes some time to pull all this stuff apart, because so many things got to come apart once you get down in here and you start working on this. And I like to be in these like bigger jobs like this. I'm gonna go ahead and keep cleaning this out, and once I get this cleaned out, well, that's pretty good right there. You see how there's like no oil pooling up in there anymore? Now watch, we're gonna go start it, and then we'll come out here and watch. And I'll show you guys so you can see from cold start. Right there. And that oil will fill up immediately. Within about 30-45 seconds, the oil will come up all the way, and it will start dripping right down on top of that moving pulley down there and that belt, and it will ruin the belt and everything all over again. And it will just keep filling up. All right, stop. I'm not gonna let it keep going and drip down on it. So at least now you can see where the oil is. That will happen. It will just keep filling up, and oil will just keep pumping out of there. And what it is a cooler housing, a metal gasket, a cooler, oil filter housing, but the oil filter mounts, there's oil coming from underneath it a little bit too. Predominantly all of it's coming from up here. But any of these N series engines have this problem. And you're talking anywhere from like 3 to 5 hours of cleaning and removal and installation of new gaskets and stuff for it. It's not necessarily a hard job, but it ain't an easy job either. Okay, let's go inside real quick. So we go into all data here, and then we go to 525 sedan, 3.0 E60, and then oil filter housing. And then scroll down, oil filter housing. So it's 3.1 hours just to do the housing. It's just to do the housing alone. But it's 4 hours total, because we add the cleaning to it, and we add this does not include the diagnosis. This does not include the cleaning, and this does not include the test drive afterwards. So this is a 4 hour job. It goes from 3.1 to 4 hours because you got to factor in that other stuff that doesn't show here. This is only for removing and replacing that housing. But then you also have to do Does this come as a kit, like a gasket kit? Individual pieces, and then you got to piece it all together. So you got to piece this gasket kit assembly together. So there's two things that we replace when we do that job. We do the engine oil filter adapter housing gasket, and we also do the engine cooler assembly seal, which is a big plate that goes in between the two units. So you order them, and then total with cleaning, diag, test driving the vehicle, and the removal and repair, 4-hour job. So that job alone, just that one single job alone, could easily be, you know, like $700. And then when you add like the belt to it and cleaning the front of the engine, whatever pulleys may be bad or something like that, you also have to replace them. I mean, you at that point you're probably talking another almost $200 or $300 plus whatever the labor is on it. You're close to $500 or $600 just on that. These BMWs, they get expensive. So, but for that oil leak alone, just to fix that one oil leak, it's 3.1 hours in labor, but it's then also 0.9 hours of diag, cleaning, pre-test drive, post-test drive, all that other stuff. So, yeah, it's about a $700 job. So that's what's going on with the N-Series BMW. Very common. All N-Series BMWs typically have this kind of problem. Eventually, you will run into this. If you're a BMW owner, be aware. Thanks, guys.